It's time for the Creator Town Hall here on Studio Live today. Hello, my name is Pete. I am your host for this weekly show where we talk all about home recording, about creating music, about video creation, about everything to do with creating in your home studio. And today's guest is having a few technical difficulties. You know why I think that's okay? Because I've been having technical difficulties with live streaming for about the last 2 weeks. In fact, the reason I have my mobile phone with a battery backup on standby is that my internet has been flakier than a teenager with dandruff. That's a weird reference because I don't even know what that means. But our guest today, Ricky T. Brown, should be with us soon. We heard him before, just in the pre show. I was chatting to him on audio, and then he couldn't get his camera happening, and then he had to reboot. And then we're hoping is going to be back in true form in just a few moments. But you know what? That's the cool thing about live shows. You never quite know what's going to happen. So we are going to talk about Ricky and his experience. But let's give the man an introduction in the hope that he can get the hope that everything can come together and that we can have him on here in a moment because Ricky T. Brown, if you're not familiar, is the moderator, admin, founder. We're going to ask him in a minute of the Home Recording Studio Zone Facebook. Yeah, it's one of the biggest and best home recording YouTube, Facebook channels. And this is the group here. Look at that. Very, very cool. 55,000 plus members over there at Home Recording Studio Zone. So we may be going a little bit old school. We may be going audio only podcast mode here because I can see that Ricky's jumped into the stream, but I cannot see his screen. So why don't we bring Ricky in here and see if we can hear the man, the myth, the legend, Ricky T. Brown. Ricky, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear. Oh, I'm so sorry about this.
Mate.
This morning of all mornings, my camera decided to flipping bug out. So
to cark it.
yeah.
Well, here's the thing. We can fix this because what we're going to do is I don't know if you can see your screen here, Rick, but
yeah,
we can show because this is the man, the myth, the legend. This is Ricky T. Brown. You saw him in the thumbnail anyway, and this is your YouTube channel, and we're just going to roll with it because you know what, you can't trust technology, so we're just going to keep going and talk to you here today and go podcast mode. Are you cool with that, mate?
Yeah, I'm good with that, mate. I'm good.
All right. So for the folks that don't know you, don't know Home Recording Studio Zone, don't know what all this is about, what's the elevator pitch, mate? What's the 30 seconds of the Ricky T. Brown story? What is all this business and what's Home Recording Studio Zone all about? And let the folks know who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, let's start with me. I'm a writer, producer, composer. Been doing that a long time, and
Nice.
you know, I think I got to the stage where being a worldwide superstar producer, you know, that boat might have sailed, yeah.
I
So
hear
for
you.
me, it was about you know, it's about paying it forward and encouraging people coming up basically to,
Mm.
you know, getting interested, getting involved, and learning the basics. So, like many, I joined other Facebook home studio groups, saying, God,
Yep.
some of them, it's like the Wild West in there, man. And the thing that I was most, you know, aggrieved about really was that the behavior of some of the admins. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
they treated their group page like their little fiefdom, if you like.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, some of them would actually come out and start berating members. I mean, really going to town
Yeah.
on them and talking about private messages. So, you know, the member might have messaged them about an issue and he'd come onto the group page and they'd slag them off to hell. So
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, there's got to be something better than this. And, you know, in that kind of situation, you know, if you're honest,
Mm.
you say, well, if you think you can do better,
Have
do
a go.
better.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess that was the beginning of Home Recording Studio Zone.
Mm.
Yeah, and I guess that the many of the people that have joined were looking for that kind of sanctuary, if you like,
A
where
little, yeah, a little bit
yeah,
of
where people get
tolerance and yeah.
yeah, where people get treated properly, you know?
Well, it is a great place, and I know that myself, Mike from Creative Source, and there you can. I'm showing it here on the screen now. If you haven't joined, 55,000 members of Home Recording Studios Zone. When you what was the infancy of this? So you just thought, okay, we need a place where people can come that are home recording
Yeah,
enthusiasts that are not going to get the BS of some of these other groups.
yeah.
When you started this, did you think, hey, we're going to have 50,000 plus people that are going to be members of this group? Was it a humble beginning that you had there? What was the plan going
Yeah,
in there?
it was definitely humble beginnings, but yeah, the mission was always, you know what? Okay, we're going to be bigger than some of the others, but we're going to do it properly.
Yeah.
And I guess our, you know, what might make our group page a little different is that it's not really about control, but it's
Mm,
about making sure that every comment that goes up, it gets seen.
yeah.
So, you know, any potential fires, you know, they're put out before they actually hit the page. Um, and that seems to have worked really well for us because we've managed to develop an ethos on a group page where, you know, people are decent to each other. And, you know,
Mm.
the minute that somebody, you know, comes in there for a little troll, yeah, they're gone.
Yeah.
And now some may not agree with that and say, well, you know, people aren't free to say what they want. Yeah, yeah, they are, as long
Yeah.
as you're respectful about it, you know. Be
Yeah.
respectful. So uh, without me actually, without me having to say it, really. I mean,
Mm,
people they come onto the group and they pick up the vibe
yeah.
quite quickly that, well, actually, you know, that seems that certain things don't happen here. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think, you know, if we uh, the way that I looked at it was that, yes, you could just let people post whenever they want, whatever
Mm,
they want, and then you know, mop up afterwards if a fight breaks out or something. But
yeah.
I believe in nip it in the bud, mate. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and look, we'll talk a little bit more because I'm fascinated by this because I'm the moderator and admin of a few Facebook groups, and I must admit I've learned a lot from watching you and how you
Oh,
manage the
bless.
group there, Rick. Because yeah, there are so many. Like for anyone that's been on Facebook or Reddit or any forum where people are talking music, there's something about musicians that make us really passionate, and I don't know quite what
Mm.
that is, mate, but we do like to we do like what we like, and we do get into a few conflicts from time to time. So we will talk about that a little bit later in the show. Thank you to the folks who are here live. By the way, we've got Ingo from Black Covers here. Hello to you, Brian Carrington. The wonderful Owl Night Train at 1988 is here. Hello to you. Ashley HM is here live as well. Thank you for joining us. And if you do have questions for myself or for Ricky, do throw those here in the chat. And if you're watching on the replay, we love you just as much. And don't worry, if you need to know exactly how handsome Ricky T Brown is, you can check out you can check out him over on YouTube because, mate, we'll talk about this. In fact, I'm going to show this here. So this is I won't play the audio here, but this is a clip of you here on Mike over at Creative Source on the Fix My Mix show that he's been doing lately. And so if you're wondering, if you're like, does Ricky look as cool as he sounds? Yes.
Hey.
The answer is yes. And does he have a large number of outboard gear, bits and pieces, and keyboards and neon lights? Yes, he does. So,
Oh yeah.
just so you're not missing out on any of that cool stuff, I thought I would show a little clip there. But mate, you've recently started a bit of a YouTube journey yourself. You've started creating videos for YouTube. So what sparked that? What made you go, hey, I'm doing this on
Wow.
Facebook. I'm going to start the whole YouTube thing.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, there's Mike Dan Kaminsky,
Yep.
aka Lonely Rocker.
Yes.
I kind of started talking to him first, you know, and the reason why I spoke to him was I really liked what he was doing with his channel. And because you know yourself, I mean, there are some channels that have really got super poor production values, and I really
Yep.
liked what Dan was doing with his. So that's basically how we got talking. And then it's where Mike is concerned. I mean, it was actually around the same time. You know, again, if I see something that looks great or somebody's done something well, I like to let them know. So actually, I really appreciate what you did.
Mm.
So I guess my relationship with both of those people, it started from there. So when you're in that environment, you start to pick up things, and of course, there are other people that become part of your sphere, if you like. And I guess you were one of those people, Pete, because I think I did guest on a couple of
Yes,
yours and Mike's early shows, kind of thing.
you did indeed.
So yeah, so what I discovered was that, yeah, some really fantastic guys, and they were prepared to share their knowledge when I asked questions, because I was thinking, yeah, it'd be cool if I could do that. I don't know how they
I
do
like it.
it, but yeah, that might be fun to do something like that. So
Yeah.
I guess I got serious um,
Mm.
about it, and Mike and Dan challenged me, said, "Right, okay, then you're really going to do this. You're really going to
Do
do
it.
this." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, I'm going to do it." So
And you've done it, and here you are. You're a couple of videos in already, mate, and you're putting out a video every week or so. So uh,
well, that's the aim. I haven't quite managed that yet, but yeah,
no,
I
I
aim
like
to
it.
speed up. Because it's a big learning curve. I mean, it's just like being in the studio actually and understanding how everything works together. I mean,
Yeah.
let's take today for example. My
Yeah.
camera bugging out for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, mate, and look, and again, as viewers of this channel know, I've been having some issues lately where we've had some absolute things that have gone wrong. And the thing
Oh
is,
Lord,
you need to go with the flow, and I think that's the
yeah.
thing. I think it's very easy to get annoyed and frustrated, but then when you think that we're living in the future and you're sitting there, because again, for those that don't understand the accent, you are in the UK, mate. So you're in the UK and I'm here in Australia, and we've got people watching us from all around the world, and all of
Yeah,
that can happen live. And then there's people that are going to wake up, they're going to be eating their cornflakes in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
I know.
Shout out to those people. And then they're going to just turn this on and be listening to you and me rant about random stuff to do with music. And
Okay.
then I think about all that and I'm like, hang on, we do live in the future. When a camera just fails for no reason, I mean, again, they don't get to look at your amazing, handsome face, but they still get to hear your dulcet tones. And I think that's pretty darn cool. So,
Oh man.
uh, we'll go with it. We'll take what we can. Now,
Okay.
in these sort of shows, because again, a lot of the folks here on Studio Live today don't know a lot about you. We will talk more of the Facebook stuff and the YouTube stuff a bit
Sure.
later, but we like to get to know you a little bit more. And you've already talked
That's all
about
right.
kind of your journey through the music production and that sort of thing. But why
Mm.
don't we go all the way back to the start? Because what I like to ask folks
Ooh.
when they're on the channel sort of solo, because again, you and Mike and me, we've chatted about various topics in the past,
Yes,
but
indeed.
we'll go back to the start. What's your musical origin story? What's the Ricky T. Brown story from the very start? What got you into music? Were you bitten by the music bug? Was it a family thing? Did you get forced to do piano lessons like most of us? What was that impetus that made
Well,
you love music?
okay, we'll go right the way back to my earliest memory of having a love of music. It was I think I could have been only maybe 3 or 4,
Wow.
and in the house that we were living in at the time, um, my mum left me on my own. And I'd been watching my dad how to use the gram, as it was called then, yeah.
Ooh,
And
Graham. I like it.
so it's one of those things where you could stack up the 7 inches, yeah, and they'd drop down each time, kind of thing. And she left me up there. It must have been she might have been locked up for that now, actually. Um, yeah, she left me up there for a good 3 4 hours on my own, and I was happy as punch, because I was just putting on my dad's
Mm,
records and stuff.
yep.
So I guess they recognize that, well, actually maybe he's got a thing about music. So yes, I
Yeah.
did do the piano lessons, which were an utter disaster. It
Oh,
it
yeah.
didn't quite work out. Yeah. Fell out with a piano teacher for some reason. I don't quite remember, but yeah, there was a bit of a lull. But when I got to school, however, um, yeah, it seemed before my voice broke. Um,
Yeah, nice. So
I
I'm just
could
showing
sing
all
in
your
the
I'm showing all your synths behind you there at the moment, so people
yeah.
can see that the piano lessons failed, but you still managed to have
I'll
a
tell
bunch
you
of
about
keyboards back
that.
there.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that. Yeah, so
Nice.
school.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems that I had a quite a good choir voice. So I did a couple of, you get roped in to do the school events, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But my first real, if you're talking about, okay, then what made me take that step to pursuing it as a lifetime thing?
Mm.
Um, there was a few guys at school. I think we were teenagers by then, and it was like, okay, then yeah, let's form a band, as as you do.
Everyone starts a
And
band. Yep.
and the thing was, you see, yeah, there are. I think there were four other band members, and they all had an instrument, but I didn't. But I just wanted to do it. So I remember our first rehearsal, and I was playing a bloody chair. Yeah, there were there, there was a pair of free drumsticks. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like that's all that was left. So I ended up knocking out rhythms on a bloody chair. So
Oh, love it.
I know, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? Um, but so that actually drew me into playing percussion because that was the only job
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, yep, yep.
So I managed to convince my mum and said, "Look, mum, I need a pair of bongos here." Um, and then, of course, from there, it just right. It was the bongos, then it was the congas, their big brothers, and then
Yep.
all things, all things percussiony, I suppose. So vibrous slaps and tambourines and all of that.
Yeah,
So like,
nice.
so when you see on telly and you got the percussionist surrounded by all of these different instruments that you smack. Yeah, that was me, and it was a
Yeah.
safe job in a band. Yeah, because singers might come and go, and the bass
It's true.
player or the guitarist, but the percussionists, we were a rarer breed. So I went for the being safe.
Yep.
But anyway, I must have been in my early 20s by this time, and I was in a band, and they kicked me out because
They fired the drummer. What?
yeah, they kicked
What?
me out. But what was really sad about this was I did a session for somebody who got some record company interest,
Mm.
and yeah, one of them got jealous, and I thought, I don't think Rick should be in the band anymore. He's not committed.
Ooh, yeah,
He's not
right.
committed. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was gone. But from that moment, I decided that, you know what, I'm never going to let myself be in a position where I could be discarded so
Love it.
easily.
Yep.
So I had to become a writer and a real, a writer, a contributor to the material that we were doing. Because before then, I was only
Yeah.
just playing percussion.
Yep, yep, yep.
So that was the beginning of it. So hence my renewed interest in keyboards.
There you go. Come around full circle. So the keyboards. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Nice. So, yeah, and from there, obviously, I mean, again, I'm showing pictures of you and the keyboards and the setup and all the outboard gear here. So, what is it? like, what is it that drives you to have the setup you have today? So, what got you into the creating music side? So, obviously the percussion, and then getting into the keyboards, and then making your own music. Where did that passion come from to say, hey, I like listening to music, I like playing music, but I want to create music and get my own music out there.
Yeah, well, after I was kicked out, um, as
Ousted.
I said, right, okay, I need to be in a position where that can't happen, and I need to be at the center of whatever I was going to be doing after that. And I had musical ideas at that point anyway, so I guess that's when I got my first keyboard, my first synth.
Yep.
Um, it was a Korg Delta. Now,
Ooh.
yeah, that's an old one, mate.
Yeah. It's like
It
a
was a
Yamaha DX sort of era, isn't it? That's
it's
old
pre
school, man.
that. You're
Yeah.
joking.
Ooh.
No,
Ooh.
this was even before, no MIDI on it. Um,
Oh.
but I had a friend that had one also, and I kind of liked it, and I started to work out how to manipulate it and stuff. So yeah, so that's where the home studio recording thing for me started, because then it was like, oh right, I need to start making some tracks.
Yeah.
Um, so I got a Porter Studio.
Oh yes. There you go.
Yeah, I think the
See,
first one I used was the Tascam 244. Um,
love it. Classic.
yeah, one of the very earliest ones, and
Yep.
the first one that I actually bought was a Fostex 160.
Oh,
Um,
yep.
but that was the thing then, I mean, you only had 4 tracks,
Hmm.
so as soon as you use one, you were running out, you
Yeah,
know.
you're in trouble, aren't you? Yeah, I know. I'm looking at. Have you priced one these days, mate? Like I've been looking around at 4 tracks. I'm just looking here. A Tascam 244, like the OG model here that I'm showing on the
Oh
screen,
my gosh.
over $1,000 to pick up one of these suckers. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's if only we held on to them, right?
Well, yeah, that's it. But something, as basic as they might be compared to nowadays, they really capture the essence of
Oh yeah.
performance and composition, because you didn't have loads of tracks. Whatever went down, it needed, the only reason for it to be there was because it needed to be there. There's no fat, no
Yep.
fluff, just exactly what it needs to be. And it gave me a lot of discipline in terms of certainly in terms of arranging songs
Mm.
and that kind of thing. And
Oh, totally. No,
yeah, but
it's the first multi-tracking, hey? Yeah, that we all did onto cassette tape, and
yeah,
yeah, like I'm showing again now. This is the first one that I had, because I probably, not to age or date either of us here, Rick, but I was probably 5 years behind you, because this was my first beast, the Tascam
yes,
424 Mark II, the Porter Studios. So yeah, I created many a little riff on this one, and yeah, the whole record. For those that don't know, 4 tracks, and you could record to three, and then you could bounce them to the fourth, and then you got a fresh 3 tracks. But by the time you get about 2 or 3 layers in, you're losing a bit of quality there, aren't you? You've got to be
oh
really
yeah,
careful about what you put on those first tracks, because if you put some really highly defined guitars or vocals on the first tracks, by the
yeah,
time you bounced them 3 or 4 times, yeah, it's not going to sound so great. So
that's
those were the
right.
days. No 64 or 128 tracks of high
Oh no,
fidelity audio. Was all very different back in the day.
yeah, absolutely.
Nice one.
Um,
So from there, mate. Because one of the videos that I watched that I'm going to throw up here now, because I love the graphics on this one. I love some of the visuals. Was a video that you did recently. I'm just going to show it on the screen here now, of your DAW. So I'm just going to go back there to see that. So look at this beautiful stock footage here. Reaper, Cakewalk, Logic, Studio One. What's the deal here, mate? What are you throwing out there? Are you saying that you need to use one? There can only be one DAW, or what's your view on what people
well,
should use to create music?
well. You see, the thing is, I mean, look, I'm sure you've seen it on many pages you've visited, and the minute that question's asked, what's the
Oh,
best? What's the best
What's the
DAW?
best?
And yeah, a melee breaks out with every Tom, Dick, and Harry coming on there saying, "Listen, Reaper's the one."
Oh, it's
Oh,
the
and you have
only one.
yeah, and then you've got well, if you're really serious, it's Pro Tools, and it's just a whole melee. And the bottom line for me is that I've dabbled with most of them, and the truth
Yeah.
of the matter is that they all do pretty much the same thing,
Yeah.
and it's
No,
just
you've revealed the secret. The dirty
I'm
secret of all
so sorry.
DAWs is that there's no freaking difference.
No, there is no real difference. It's really more about it's if you could talk about fashion, it's style, man. They're all
Right.
clothes. It's just about your
Exactly.
style, yeah. And
Oh, mate.
so it's very tempting when that subject comes up to always advocate your personal choice,
Yeah.
but you know, it different. They all do the same thing, and
Yeah.
you just choose the one that suits your style the best, I guess. So
It's true. It's
Uh, so,
no.
uh, so it was. I was very careful about saying, "Well, okay, then. Well, the fight scene. It is literally that. Whenever that question comes up, So, I suppose this idea popped into my head that that people would be nah, mine's better. No, no,
Yeah.
mine's better. And so they're verbally kicking the shit out of each other. Sorry, did I
That's all
just
right.
swear?
It's fine. It's usually, I mean, it's usually me swearing on Mike's show. That's all right. We can, as long as we're more than 10 minutes in, you can throw a few s bombs around here on YouTube, and it's
Okay,
fine.
okay. I shall refrain. I shall
Totally cool. But yeah, no, it's really interesting because yeah, you're exactly right. When you go into any of these forums, there's just so much, and there's a few reasons for it, and people should go watch. By the way, go watch Ricky's video. Check out the links down in the description. There's a link to the Home Recording Studio Zone Facebook group, but also more importantly, go and subscribe to Rick on the Home Studio Recording Zone YouTube channel because he's just kicked off and got some really good information on there. If you're starting out, especially you're trying to decide which DAW you use, go and check that one out. But yeah, it is so true that people get super passionate, and I mean, I don't know, a lot of it comes from different places, but a lot of it's the sunk cost bias, mate, and
Yeah.
especially those that have spent money. And I know we've got Mike, hello to Mike here from Creative Source, who's just dropped in to say g'day. But
Hey.
yeah, he said Porter Studios were awesome and complete garbage at the same time. 100% agree with that statement. They were the
Absolutely.
greatest and worst things in the
Yeah.
history of mankind. But yeah, no, it's interesting because Mike, every time I want to tease Mike, I'm like, oh, so how's that free DAW cakewalk going, Mike? Everyone knows you as Mr. Cakewalk, and he's like, oh, I still use Studio One, people. I don't just use Cakewalk, but it is such a thing that, and because I'm a GarageBand guy, and because Mark's now Mark, I've changed his name. Mike's now making a lot of Cakewalk videos. We get the same people coming in and making the same comments, which is that yeah, unless
Yeah.
you've poured 10 or 20 or 30,000 dollars into a Pro Tools HD rig or some sort of Reaper rig that's like got all the high end gear,
Yeah.
then it's no good. Whereas the video, I watched your video today, and you're talking about it like you literally need a friggin' like 10-year-old PC. As long as you got like about 8 gig of RAM and like a Core i5 processor, you're going to be able to crush Reaper or Cakewalk or Studio One
Absolutely.
or Pro Tools. Like, there's so many options there. Why do you think it matters so much to people, Rick, that what you actually use, apart from the whole, my thing is better than yours? Is there anything? Have you analyzed this stuff? Anything else you can think of as to why people care?
Well, obviously, people are influenced by what they're told by the industry itself,
Yeah.
and they can get drawn in by the marketing department of all
Oh,
these different
yeah.
brands, and you can fall for that. And then, of course, there are people who uh, proper industry inverted commas people that say,
I'll
well,
do that.
they ask,
Yeah.
what do you use? And they say, well, we only use Pro Tools, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I mean, Pro Tools, I think it must have been about 10 years ago now. I actually bought it, you know.
Oh,
I
there you
actually
go.
bought it big for the
Back when you could
exactly
buy it, you didn't have to rent it, mate.
no, I actually bought this one, yeah. And you know, the only reason why I bought it was because, well, if you're serious in the industry, you need to have it. So, but
Yeah.
do you know something, Pete? I never opened the packet. Yeah, because this is when you would you
Yep.
know, you would have it on a CD
Actual
or
shrink
whatever.
wrapped CD in a box. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it. That's the one. Yeah, I never actually opened it. You know, because the fact was,
Mm.
I didn't really like the way it looked, and then you know, and there were more exciting things around at the time,
Oh,
especially Logic. Um,
yeah.
so that was time I moved over to that. But I think it's all about like you know, people jump on a bandwagon sometimes, you know, and
Mm.
because a few say that yeah, this is a good one, and then you know, people jump in, yeah, I think it's good as well, and do you
Yeah.
know they even used it? I
Yeah.
haven't even used it, but they're jumping in all the same. So
Because it's the industry standard. And if you're not using the
absolutely,
industry standard, you don't know what you're doing. We got a whole bunch more here, folks. But if you are enjoying my chat here with Ricky T. Brown, please hit the thumbs up and you can subscribe to my channel. But more importantly, subscribe to Rick's channel down in the description as well. If you've got any questions, you're watching on the replay, we love replay viewers just as much. And I know that you've got a bunch of folks over at the Home Recording Studio Zone who are in the US and Canada because it is a
indeed.
global, worldwide Facebook group. So I know many of them are waking up again, their cornflakes in one hand, their coffee, maybe their bagel if they're in New York. Is that a stereotype? I don't know. But they're eating their bagel, they're drinking their coffee, and they're going, oh, Ricky T. Brown, he's talking about stuff. So yeah, he's talking about you, and you should go and tune into his YouTube channel as well. A lot of the folks who are here live, DJ Normal Norman, which is a cool name by the way. Yeah, I've just started by the way, Rick. I've just purchased Logic. Speaking of Logic, and I'm starting
Ah,
to actually create in Logic. So yeah, I've been embarrassing myself the last 2 days by showing my lack of skills in Logic. Marcus Cadell says brings out a lot of not so good memories. I'm assuming you're talking about the 4-track recorders. Yeah, there's two types of people: those that are nostalgic about 4-track recorders, and those who actually used 4-track recorders. So
yeah,
you can
indeed.
decide which one you are. We've got Gregor S. Sullivan distracted by editing some drums, and you're late for the show. Oh no, that's unacceptable. Please leave. Please go see the principal before you leave. And Ashley says my university had Pro Tools and Reason and such. Never actually touched it. And yeah, look, no, it's an easy thing to say, mate. And I know you said it. I watched your video, and you said, look, just use whatever works for you. There's plenty of free options. There's plenty of paid options. You'll find what works for you there. But yeah, just use. It's more important that you're actually creating music than it is what you're actually using at the end of the day.
Indeed.
That being said, mate, what are you
Mm.
using right now? Like, what are you making? What sort of music are you making? And what are you actually using? Because this is the Creator Town Hall, and I know people
Yeah,
love
yeah, sure.
nerding out on the gear, and they've
Okay.
seen pictures of your studio with all that gear behind you.
Yeah.
What are you making? How are you making it? And yeah, let's
Um,
nerd out for a moment.
I'm a bit of a genre hopper, really.
Love it.
Because yeah, well, I suppose the first proper band that I was in, we did jazz fusion, and
Love.
so I've got a love of jazz,
Yep.
but I think once I became aware of Prince
Mm,
and and just really started analyzing what he was doing, and the Prince thing was all about mixing different genres,
yep.
having influences in there. So I guess I acquired an appreciation for a much wider range of music styles kind of thing. And so I suppose if you were looking at my journey, I'd have phases where, yeah, I started off with a jazz thing, and
Nice.
then it was more of a, funk R&B, and then of course, because of Prince, I suppose, then that led to the more rocky approach
Hmm.
to what I was creating, kind of thing. So I genuinely can listen to anything and
Mm.
appreciate it for what it is. Well, I think so.
Oh,
Um,
I agree. Based on what I've seen of you, mate, and the very fact that, yeah, when I jump over here, and you mentioned it earlier, and we'll get back to talking about this because
sure.
why not? It's a good segue. But the home recording studio zone, one of the great things I love about that is that it's every genre. Like
Yeah,
there are some groups that are all about rap and hip hop. There's some
yeah,
groups that are all about rock. There's some groups that are all about R&B. There's some groups that are all about like old school jazz and funk and that sort of thing. Home recording studio zone doesn't seem to have a genre. It seems to be everything, and to the
yeah.
point where one thing that I love that you do that I've
Hmm.
noticed is that every week you throw out some genres there. So here's the problem. Here's the problem with a group with 55,000 members. There are
Yeah.
so many people here, and I won't show it because it's a private group, so you can go join the group. But there are so many people. Everyone wants their 15 minutes of fame, right? Let's just cut to the chase. Everyone wants other people to listen to their music. But one
Yes.
thing that Rick does over at Home Recording Studio Zone is he realizes that, and every week you pick a few genres, and then you throw out and you say, "Hey, guess what? It's self promotion week, and if you are creating in this genre, this genre, this genre, this genre." Then share your music. What was the impetus for that? And have you found that particular strategy successful?
Yes. I mean, you've kind of touched on the reasons for that. I mean, yeah, as the group grew,
Mm,
when we had our self promotion Saturdays, as we call it,
yep.
um, everybody was posting, and it's like, well, that's great, but
Hmm.
there was a limit to how much people could actually listen to.
Mm,
And obviously, the people who have put their work forward, they want to be heard. So it occurred to me that, well, it would be a good idea if we bring the audience to the genre that they're most interested in. So by rotating which genres we have from one week to the next, was probably a good way of doing that. Yeah, that's it.
yeah, that's exactly
Yeah,
what it is. That's what I'm talking about. This is. I was excited by this one because you finally said acoustic, and I'm like, all right, I got some acoustic music. I'll share it.
yeah, that's it. So obviously, I mean, even the way that we've done it, I mean, we have a 6 week rotation,
Yep.
and even then, you can't
Mm,
always capture some of the subgenres
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I got to admit, on certain weeks when people put stuff up, and I'm thinking, well, that ain't this week. You know what I mean?
But acoustic. I mean, I banged a bongo halfway through, but the rest was
Well,
electronic. But
yeah,
I banged a
that's it.
bongo, mate.
Yeah, so it's really a guide. I mean,
Yeah.
I try not to be too intrusive about
Yeah.
knocking something off if it's the wrong genre week. I try not to do that, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's blatant, yeah, because there are certain individuals that whether it's
Yeah.
a hip hop week or not,
Yeah.
they're gonna be
It's
thrown down a
always.
metal track. Yeah. So, so,
Oh, I can't possibly imagine that. I like that Jane Starr walked in at that point. And it's like, wait, you just talked about
hi
metal, and
Jane.
Jane Starr just like rocks up and is like, oh, hello, hello, it's metal. Um, I want to ask you a couple of questions about this
Yeah,
because
sure.
again, you and I are both admins and moderators of Facebook groups, and
Indeed.
there's a lot of really good things that go along with that. There's a lot of challenges too. So I'm going to ask you two
Yeah.
questions, and let's start with the negative, and then we'll flip it around to the positive. So,
Okay.
what do you find the most challenging thing about being the administrator of a very large and very passionate music-based group on Facebook?
Um, for me, it's I guess it's that feeling of, I really can't take my foot off the pedal
Yeah,
with its development, because that's how groups die, I guess,
yeah,
when you stop making it relevant and you stop
yep,
adding things that keeps people's interest.
yep,
Um, that's been the most challenging thing because for most of our existence, um, our numbers have like shot up from
mm,
one week to the next. It just kept going up and going up and going up. But we're nearly 4 years old now,
yeah,
and yeah, I find that I have to work a bit harder now
yeah,
to say, right, okay, maintain the engagement of the group, and and keeping it relevant to them. So rather than being an aloof admin,
Mm.
for me, it's about, well, I need to engage with them, find out what they want, find out
Yeah.
what interests them, or they may have new interests. Okay, what are they? So periodically, I'll throw a couple of random polls just to
Yeah.
get a feel
Yep.
for where people are right now. So that's quite hard at
Yeah.
times.
Oh, totally. And yeah, and again, like, not to be a self promoter, but
Yeah,
yeah, the group that I'm associated with, the GarageBand users, which is a friend of Home Recording Studio Zone, and
indeed.
you should definitely be a part of both. If you're a GarageBand, if you're not a GarageBand user, then probably not going to be for you. But yeah, we've had similar challenges because I've been around about the same amount of time, been around about that 4 years. Started with well
Yeah.
less than 1,000 members, and now at 12,500 members, and it's
Oh, well
exactly the
done.
same thing. Yeah, it's amazing how many people are just using this one platform and enjoying it. But it's exactly the same thing. And as I said to you, one of the reasons that a couple of years ago when I first met you and when Mike introduced me to you and the group,
Yeah.
and the reason I've been watching it so closely is to see that there have been, without being negative, there's been groups
Mm.
that have come and gone and that have just like fallen along the wayside. And they'll fall either because one person just took so much on their shoulders
Yeah.
and couldn't bear the burden anymore and just had to give up, or that the trolls just came in and took over. And or a combination of the two, and that seems to be what happens when a group goes from over 1,000 to 10,000 to now 50+ thousand for your group.
Yeah.
It is a testament to the fact that you are still surviving, which is why I asked that question up front to
Well,
say, what's the
I
challenge?
I know people, when we're talking about home recording studio zone, and yeah, I suppose I'm the main face of that, but I do have a team of
Mm,
people working with me, and it was important when I got certain individuals on board,
yeah,
is to actually have a good idea of where their passions lie with this whole thing, because some
yeah.
people like to be a mod because of their power.
I
Yeah,
wield the wrench and the
yeah,
band hammer with passion. Yes,
that's
yes.
the one. Yeah. But so what I've tried to do over the last 4 years really is, yes, I need to be at the forefront of what happens. I need to lead by example, but the other people on board, the mods,
Yep.
um, they're all very accomplished people in their own right, and I suppose where our minds meet is
Mm,
about paying it forward, and then
yes.
using that approach when you're dealing with people. So
Mm,
one of the things that I really wanted to address was the lack of female representation,
100%.
because we have women in the industry, but
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I hate to admit this, actually, when we look at the stats for the group, it's only like 2%
Mm,
of our members are actually women. I'm thinking, no, there's more women around than that. There's got
yep.
to be. So
Yep.
where are they?
Mm,
I think you might agree that these home studio industry forums, they're very male dominated, and
yes.
so I guess the principle, you need to see it to be it, um, came to my mind, and I thought, right, okay, now I know I've got female members, kind of thing.
Mm,
Um, so it's really just to check out a couple of them from the point of view of how often do they contribute, and then
yep.
what level are they at? Are they at a level where they can actually help others? You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So luckily, I was able to. Um, there are a couple of people that are, I like their vibe. Yeah,
Yep.
and in our case, in January, yeah, it was one of my resolutions. Right, we need to have some women involved in this. Anna
Totally.
Savage is uh, well experienced and creative, all the superlatives, from what I've read from her. But she's a solid
Mm,
proposition, And I just asked her. I said, "Listen, this is what I'm aiming for with the group. Would you like to be part of it?" And yeah, she joined us, and since then she's been fantastic. So
Oh wow,
yeah,
that
wicked
is
Anna.
nice. So this is Annie B Savage. Is this who we're talking about here? Have I got the right person?
I don't think that's her. No, no,
I,
that's not
I'm trying to
her.
be super smart, and I'm just like I'm trying to
Yeah,
go into
yeah,
the group
you've done
and find
so good so
musicians, and
far.
I'm like, I've done so well, and I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
no, I
have.
don't think this is it, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. So there
She's
you
in
go.
the picture on our
Oh,
group
see,
page.
I should have just gone to the group, mate. Like I'm trying too hard here. I should have just gone straight to the home recording
Well,
studio zone
you
that I
were
had
to
here.
know.
Oh,
Yeah, because
I'm
on
always
the
going to have
group
a crack,
banner,
mate.
yeah, it's me and the mods basically
There you go. Ah, there you
that
go.
are
She's
on there. So
hiding under the banner there.
that's
Lovely.
Anna.
There you go.
Yeah, really accomplished musician.
Excellent.
Really accomplished musician. Yeah. So yeah, it's about giving women a platform as well as
Yeah.
not being a gents only club kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, and look, it's yeah. Without going off on a massive tangent, mate, because we could probably talk for another hour on it. It is huge because the one thing that we share, and it's great to hear you talk about this sort of thing because
Mm,
it's something that we share a passion for, which is that more people need to be creating more music, and we don't care who they are, don't care what
yeah.
color you are, don't care what gender you are, don't care what sexuality you are. None of that matters as long as you're creating music and you're
Yeah.
sharing that music with people. And it's such a shame. It's so sad to hear when you see these groups where there's people that are engaging in bullying and that are engaging in just targeting of various people, and it makes people stop creating. And I'm
Yeah.
like, there's too many people that are really talented but are just too scared to share. And it should never be that way. So I think the reason that the GarageBand users Facebook group, I know Jade over at her We All Rise Together group, I know that Mike over at Creative Source and his group that he has for Cakewalk users is exactly the same, is that everyone should be able to be in this safe environment where you can create and share. And shows like Mike's show that's coming up in like
Yeah.
13 minutes time, where he does his Fix My Mix show and his Creative Source shows, they're the same sort of thing. They're giving
Absolutely.
people an opportunity to have that ability to have their music out there and to be listened to. And yeah, I think it's not enough for us to say that, hey, we're creating the platform. I think we just have to be more cognizant of just shutting down any conversation about anything about people's creativity
Yeah.
and not being able to create. So that was a giant tangent, but yeah, it's really cool to see what you're doing there, and we need more
Thank
of it.
you.
So brilliant stuff, mate. So we do have about 13 minutes to go here.
Okay.
We're gonna nerd out a little bit again here. So what is your favorite tool, mate? What's your favorite piece of hardware or software when it comes to creating music? Because I know that this is a creator town hall. We need to talk about creativity. So if you're gonna get in and get into the weeds and create some music, like you're wait. I mean, it's a morning for you. It's nighttime for me, but it's morning for
Yeah.
you. So you have your morning cup of coffee, you have your porridge, and then you sit down and you're like, right, I want to create some music. What bit of software or hardware do you reach for first?
Okay. Well, my favorite door at the moment is Studio One.
Ooh,
Um,
controversial. I can't believe
yeah.
you'd use Studio One. Oh, don't you? No, sorry.
Yeah, it's a long story, It's a long story because you see, if I go back 10 years from here, I was using Logic, and
Yeah.
I still love Logic, but I don't
Yep.
like Apple. So, so it's well, put it this way, they just made me feel like, they weren't really prioritizing
Mm,
musicians,
yep.
and certainly with musicians, listen, man,
Mm,
most of us are broke ass, yeah. So it's like, why would you price out, an important user group
mm,
from his stuff by just pricing people out of it? So
yeah.
it came to the point where I needed to upgrade my machine,
Mm,
and what was it going to cost me to do it? And I really had to face that. Well, can I really afford to buy, the latest Mac that had the equivalent?
Yep.
power to what I was using. And the fact was,
Hmm.
no, I couldn't afford it. So
Yeah.
that's when I switched to PC. So when I went over to PC, I'd had some previous forays with Cubase, but I adopted Studio One as soon as it was launched because I just
Yep.
liked the way that it looked.
Yep.
And the functionality of it has just gone through the roof over that time. And it's the one piece of software that that I know that I can just switch it on, and if I've got an idea, it I blend in with its workflow. It just
Yeah.
works for me.
Yep.
Instruments wise,
Mm.
being a keyboardist, I usually start
Yes.
my ideas with piano.
Yep.
I go for a nice piano sample. I mean, my favorite at the moment is Noir by Native Instruments,
Nice.
and yeah, it's just got a lovely timbre about it. So I usually start my ideas with a piano, and even if a piano isn't in the final idea, it would be the grand piano sound that I'll go for.
Nice. I like it. I'm in the background here trying to find Noir because like I failed last time, so I'm like, let's hope I succeed this time.
That's
You
it.
mean you mean this Noir, Ricky T Brown?
This Noir, that's the one. Yeah,
Got
yeah,
there. Very cool. Yeah, like there is nothing like a really well sampled grand piano. And look, I mean,
indeed.
we're talking money, $219 Australian. So maybe I need to reach out to Native Instruments and say, hey, you want to give me a copy, and I'll try it out for you. Now that I'm a Logic guy, do they have an AU version that I can use in Logic Pro? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, they do. Yeah,
There
yeah,
you
they
go.
do. Mhm.
All right. Yeah, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch, Native Instruments. But yeah, no, it's interesting because I've gone the opposite journey, which is weird. But to me, it just talks about the fact that you just kind of have to follow whatever is happening with you in your life and
Yeah.
what's going on. Because I had the exact same thing where I use GarageBand on iOS, and people were pressuring me to try GarageBand on Mac. I'd never really used it, and then Apple brought out basically a $700 Mac Mini at the time where I was actually bugging Mike to build me a PC. I'm like, Mike, I'm going to switch over to the dark side. I'm going to become a Studio One user and join you on the PC world. I'm going to abandon GarageBand on iOS, and he's like, oh yeah, give me a year because I'm a busy man. I'm like, okay, I will. And then Apple just at the same time just dropped that. And again, because I didn't have, like you say, $5,000 to buy the
Yeah.
latest and greatest new Mac, I thought, hey, if there's a $700 Mac that I can try out and put GarageBand Mac on, and it's going to work. And it did. And then, like, I've kind of been. My wife hates it. She was trying to use my Mac today just to do some homeschooling stuff. And she
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
the Mac interface is just ridiculous. Like, why can't I just get to things? Why, when I alt tab, do they not come up? Why do they just sit there in the taskbar? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry. But yeah, there's a lot of challenges with it. But again,
Sure.
I've switched over. But I can't get passionate with the people, the same people that are saying, you need to use this, you need to use that, you need to. No one knows what you need. No one knows what
No.
I need. No one knows what anyone watching here live or watching on the replay needs. It's all about you, isn't it? It's all about you and your own workflow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having used both platforms, I mean, yes, Macs do have their advantages, I mean, uh, it's often said, but and I'd agree that it is a smoother operating system to work with, but PC gives me so much more bang for buck.
Oh yeah.
Um, so
No arguments.
so I don't need the badge. I need functionality,
Yep.
and that's what guides my choices.
100%. And yeah, and just like I could never pull off those shades, I could never pull off something like Ableton Live because I'm just not cool enough to use Ableton Live. And forget about FL Studio, mate. I couldn't pull Fruity Loops. I don't know. Have you ever used it? These young folks coming up these days that are like, I love it when they're like, oh man, I only create my beats in FL Studio, and I'm like, you use Fruity Loops? I used to use Fruity Loops back in
Yeah.
1998, and then that just shuts down the conversation immediately. They're like, oh no, old white guy used to use Fruity Loops 20 years ago. This is terrible. What am I going to do? So, that's kind of funny.
Fruity Loops is an interesting one. I mean, its interface, the way it looks, it looks it looks interesting for it's almost
Yeah.
like sweet because it looks like loads of
Like
sweets.
candy.
Yeah, candy on the screen. Yeah, it's so I've dabbled with it a couple of times, because when you hear other people talking about a platform, you're thinking, oh, I wonder. All right, then let me check it out. And but for me, it did the workflow didn't quite work for me, because
Yeah.
I learnt my chops um, the traditional way, I suppose.
Yep.
And when it comes to software, anything that looks like an old 24 track studio or the approach, at least,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that's the one that I'm gonna relate
That's what
to
we're gonna go for.
straight away. So,
Oh,
uh,
I, I,
but
I agree.
the whole Fruity Loops thing, I mean, it's the reason for its popularity more than anything else is that unfortunately it's a cracked version, so there's loads of like pirate copies going around.
I didn't want to go there, mate, but I'm just like, geez, I
Yeah,
reckon
I
back
know, I
in the
know.
Kazaa and the torrent days, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that every second torrent file was Fruity Loops cracked version
Oh
that you
yeah.
could download.
Oh yeah, so it's accessibility, and you'll
Yeah.
find that platforms like, I mean, God knows why people are still using Cubase 5. Um, but I have to remind myself that there are certain places in the world where making those choices are not as easy as it
Mm,
might be for me or you,
yeah.
and
Totally.
they want to be active and involved and stuff,
Mm,
and they just don't have the resources to make the choices that we do. So yeah,
yeah.
they
True.
gravitate to things that they can get easily.
It's true.
So
Yeah.
hence Cubase 5, I've got a thing about that, man, because it's like, you don't need to use that anymore. You don't use Cubase or Reaper, but don't use Cubase 5, because you're holding yourself back, because
Oh
God,
yeah.
it's a 14-year-old program,
Oh no. No.
and they're placing all their career hopes on using a platform where you're 14 years behind everybody else, kind of thing. I mean,
It's
you know,
yeah, it's true and it's rough and it's sometimes heartbreaking too. And
yeah,
I hear you, and you see it a lot on a lot of these platforms, and a lot of I'm sure you see it in your group as well, and in the
absolutely,
GarageBand group. Someone will come in, they'll join the group, and then the next day they'll say, "Yeah, hi, does anyone have free copy of insert name of DAW?" And you're just
yeah,
like, "Oh, I feel bad," but at the same time, I'm like, there are so many free options. Like it's not 10 years ago, unless you had a Mac with GarageBand or you were just using Audacity, you were
yeah,
kind of stuck. And I bought Cakewalk Music Creator 5 for like 90 bucks Australian 10 years ago because back then it was Audacity or it was nothing on PC.
yeah,
And now you've got like Studio One, the free version of that. You've got Pro Tools free. You've got Reaper, which you can use free for like 30 or 60 or 90, a long time. And
yeah,
even then, you've got a nag screen, even if you don't. And then if you want to buy it, it's 65 bucks. Like there are so many options to create
absolutely, yeah.
music for free, good quality. And like you say, why are you using a 14-year-old piece of
Mm.
software when you can just move on and
Yeah,
use something better?
in my own way, I mean, what I'm trying to do is promote that, to say, well,
Yeah.
look, you don't have to use Cubase 5, and the
Yeah.
fact is, whenever you do, you're running a risk of attracting all kind of bugs into your system, and you know, get something that's current, will do everything you want it to do and more.
Yeah.
Um, and legitimately kind of thing. So you don't need to have those worries.
You don't. We'll talk offline about me trying to download
Yeah, sure.
Sony Vegas 15 years ago, and yeah, it basically breaking my entire PC. But that's a story for another
Yeah.
day. Um, we got we're going to go over time here, mate. But we got about five. You got
Yeah.
5 minutes left. We'll ask the last couple of questions, and then we'll
Yeah,
finish
go
off
for it,
here
man. Go
because
for it.
it's been absolutely a pleasure having you on. Even though you've been looking
I
like poor
know.
little grey man over here for the whole time. But next
Yeah.
time, mate, we'll get you back on again, and we'll have you
Yeah, I'll have
in
that
full
camera
color
sorted.
glory. But what would you say is the proudest moment that you've had since? And I normally say since you've started creating music, but because you create music and you also create communities around music, is there
Yeah.
anything that stands out from like the last 5 or 10 years in your sort of music creation journey as a whole?
Well, when we start out in music, and our first measurement of success, I guess, is whether you get a top 30 or not, kind of thing.
Top of the pops.
So if I was measuring it by that standard,
Yeah,
um, that would have been in 1995.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I got a gold disc
Oh.
because I was a co-producer on the. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's on the BBC. They do a Children in Need charity
Oh,
event
yeah,
every year,
yeah, yeah.
and I was asked to contribute with a couple of like celebrities from
Wow.
EastEnders.
Oh,
Um, Pat was it Patsy? Oh, I can't remember her name now. That's old age.
if it's
Yeah,
UK soapy stars, you're going to be
yeah.
testing
Well,
my
well,
knowledge here, mate.
well. The characters were Ricky and Bianca from EastEnders, and they did a charity record, and
Wow. Okay.
so it was a real last minute job because I remember my manager at the time. He said, "Rick, I might have a little job for you. It's a children
Yeah.
need thing." And I said, "Oh, all right then. Yeah, I'll be up for that."
Yeah.
Um, so basically, we went into, I think it was Jazzy B's studio to do a mix because I was brought in to do an alternative mix,
Yeah. Right.
and it was a nightmare because you know, no disrespect to Patsy Palmer, but
Yeah.
she had major vocal problems.
You're saying that not all soapy stars are Kylie Minogue and can actually hold a
No,
tune?
no, they're not. They're not. No, we had. So I think we were using a harmonizer at the time to try and tidy it all up, kind of thing. And we only had 12 hours to do it.
Yeah.
So we had the first shift that did the main version of it, and then the remix team came in, and I remember going there. It must have been about 9 o'clock at night, and we didn't come out till I think it was 11 o'clock midday
Wow.
the next day,
Oh,
and it was
God.
constructing a completely new mix.
Yeah.
And that was a proud moment for me because not
Oh,
just because of the calls, but it was a real test
yeah.
of my level of knowledge if I could actually pull it off. So
Yeah.
being presented with a gold disc after that, it's in my wall. It's on my wall here somewhere.
I was going
Um,
to say, if we could see your wall, we'd have a look. It's somewhere around here. Like, there you go. There's Ricky's wall.
yeah, yeah,
That's his monitors, at least.
yeah, it's in another room. It's in another room,
Oh,
Pete.
there you
Yeah,
go.
but that's one of my proudest moments.
I
I
love it.
suppose.
Well, that's cool. That's another hour conversation in itself, mate.
Yeah.
To find out all about that, because that's something that I did not know. Speaking of things I did not know, mate,
Hmm.
where's the home recording studio's own merch? Because I see you wearing your own merch here, and why can't I buy that? Where am I getting that hat, that
All
shirt?
right. Okay. Listen, listen, listen. Um, uh, you see, because the name has the same name as my Facebook group,
Eh,
um, I've got to be kind of careful how I play that one, because I don't want to make it look like that. Well,
yeah, yeah, okay.
is this is a merchandising opportunity, really, Rick?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Um,
It's been a slow 4 year burn building up this Facebook group just so that you could sham us and sell us $20 t-shirts.
exactly,
I see what
exactly.
you're doing.
Yeah, that's it. You see, and I'm very conscious of that,
Yeah, no,
because
I hear you. I hear you.
I still want to come across as a person of integrity.
Right. I
Yeah,
agree. Yep. Yep.
but that was part of the plan because I think
Mm,
if you're going to do anything like this and you're looking at the long term, branding is kind of key, and you need things by which people can recognize you. Yeah, see, yeah, you're at it too. That's it. Yeah.
I'll send you
Um,
one, mate. Can you wear one on your next video? I'll get one in the mail for you.
so so I guess I've been a test dummy for the
Nice.
merchandising, if you like.
Love it.
So tried a couple of variations. So the plan is in the future that these will be available if people ask for it.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
I'm not. I'm not really thinking about, okay, then, well, this is the real business. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
merchandise.
Oh no,
Um,
mate! I get you 100%. Like my mate Ron Ward, who you probably know of over on the GarageBand users Facebook group, he created a very
yeah,
cool logo for the GarageBand users group, and
yeah,
I just happen to have a merchandise store set up. So I'm like, oh Ron, give me a logo, and I'll put it on some shirts, and people can buy them. And they're
yeah.
like, oh, this is gonna look really bad. This is gonna look like Pete Johns is just trying to like sell shirts to people on this group. So I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do? I got to make these cost price. So I said, Ron, if you let me sell these, I'll put them on my store. I won't charge anything above cost price. I think I had to put it 1 cent above cost price. So I think I've made collectively 12 cents for the 12 people that own GarageBand users t-shirts in the world. So it's if you want to call me out on that, I'm like, yes, you're right. I scammed you all out of 12 cents. So
Yeah,
I'm
you did.
sorry. That's what we had to do.
Yeah,
We're gonna
so
have to. Sorry, mate. Go on.
yeah, I was just going to say, the size of the Facebook group. I mean,
Mm,
yeah, that could be an opportunity, but I'm not really looking at the Facebook group because
yeah.
if people, once I've got enough subscribers on YouTube, then I think you know exactly why people are there,
Yeah.
and it seems somehow more appropriate to market to
Yes.
them rather than the Facebook group. But yeah, if
Oh,
you would
totally.
like one, my friend, you just let me know. Yeah. Okay.
I think a t-shirt swap is happening in the near future with me and
I
Rick
think
here.
that's a brilliant idea.
I love it. All right. Well, one final question, and then I'll let you go because I know you're going to get on with your day, and I've got to, I got to check out for the day, and then we've got Mr. Mike over at Creative Source. He's got a show happening in about 50 minutes time, so
Okay.
we'll send folks over there. But the last thing I usually ask folks is, what's the one piece of advice, Rick, that you would pass on to someone who is sitting here right now? They've listened to us both rant for the last hour.
Yeah.
They're looking at starting out in home recording and starting to get their music going. What's the one bit of advice that you would pass on to that person if they're feeling a little bit tentative about getting started?
Um, I would imagine the technological side of it, understanding that is probably the biggest challenge at that point.
Yeah.
Um, just start at the beginning, okay? Um, as I say, Rome wasn't built in a day. Give yourself the
Truth.
chance to understand the essentials of what you're doing, and then just keep building on it.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I like your shows because it gives me a reminder myself that Rick, you just need to do your stuff and get it out there, yeah. And I'm terrible for
Yeah.
procrastinating and thinking,
Oh,
no, I don't
are
think
we all?
it's quite there. No, it's not ready. No. Advice for somebody just coming in: say, look, express yourself. Okay, we live in a day
Yeah.
and the day and age where you don't have to have a completely finished, polished thing to go out there. Just let people know what you're doing,
Mm.
and the interest that you hope for will come. But keeping it all to yourself, um, you know, you'll know about it, but nobody else will. Yeah,
Yeah.
so express
Truth.
yourself.
Love it. Madonna said it, and now Ricky T. Brown has said it. Express yourself, folks. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But where can folks go if they want to express themselves by, subscribing to your channel or maybe checking out the Home Recording Studio Zone Facebook group, Rick?
Um, yeah, I think I put a tag on the YouTube, um,
There you go.
on the YouTube, so you can go straight there. Yeah,
Beautiful.
I think on
There
the
it is.
symbols on the side there, they're live. So if you click on that, that should
There you
take you
go.
to the group
Everyone can
page.
follow. You can
Yeah,
subscribe. You can follow Rick on all the different platforms, and of course, you can jump over to the Facebook group as well, and follow Ricky and all of the great work that you do over there, mate. It's been long overdue, and it's been despite not being able to see your smiling face, mate.
Oh
I know
no.
that you're sitting there in your studio, looking happy,
Yeah.
feeling good, and next time around, we will get you we'll get you live on the show here. But there you go. Ashley's going to express espresso herself. Let's say a final farewell to all the wonderful folks that have been here live. We've got Ashley HM here, Jade Star. Thank you to you. We'll do the wave. Just pretend that Ricky's waving here. Russ
Hey.
8889's here. Night Train 1988. Mr. Dave Fox. Mr. R. J. Lovely's been here. Black Covers. Thank you, Gregory O'Sullivan, for being here as well. Thank you, Gussie Wells, who says Pete inspired me to record in GarageBand iOS, and now I'm on Mac. I know. I'm making it harder for you now, but you don't have to. You don't have to follow me. I'll be the guinea pig, and if I find it good, then you can come over. But you don't
Hey.
have to. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to Ricky T. Brown.
Thank you for having me, buddy.
Oh, no. Oh, my pleasure. And do jump over because in less than an hour's time, I know it's a show that you know well, and it's a show that you've, in fact, been on just last
Yes,
week.
I did last week. Yeah.
You did indeed, which was a great show. I think I have that one. Oh, I had that one here. No, I've only got that one. But if you go to Fix My Mix version 2, the episode 2, that was featuring Ricky T. Brown. This week we've got Marlon and the Lonely Rocker out of Canada.
Yeah.
So you're going all around the world with Mike over at Creative Source. So do jump over there and check out Mike's show in less than an hour's time. If you're watching on the replay, leave us a like, leave us a comment if you've got any questions. Myself and Ricky, I'm sure we'll be down in the comments answering any questions you have. Any parting words for the wonderful folks here on Studio Live today, Rick?
Yeah. Thank you all for joining in today and listening to me, battering my gums.
You must have done a great job because folks have hung around even without getting to see you, Rick. So
Oh, beautiful.
thank
Man.
you to Ricky T. Brown for being here
Okay.
today. And folks, please, just throughout the week, just be kind to yourself. First and foremost, be kind to other people and keep creating. And we'll see you next time on the Creator Town Hall. Bye for now.